Through funding by Global Affairs Canada, TFO Canada is currently implementing the Trading Partners Responsive Facility, or TPRF, with 4 member countries from the Pacific Alliance: Chile, Colombia, Mexico, and Peru. The facility is intended to respond to priorities identified by the countries themselves, placing a particular emphasis on initiatives that help ensure that free trade access to Canada will contribute to job growth and poverty reduction in developing countries.
The Pacific Alliance is a trade and economic and political integration initiative that comprises 4 countries that are of strategic interest to Canada. Those are Mexico, Colombia, Peru, and Chile. We have free trade agreements with all 4 countries, and we share values with them: sustainable growth, social inclusion, multilateralism, respect for human rights and democracy. So those are very like-minded countries that represent 2/3 of the trade that we have with all of Latin America. We are especially proud that the companies that were recruited in the Pacific Alliance come from faraway regions, disadvantaged regions, and that about 1/3 of them are women-led companies.
We did this training with the purpose to build the capacity of the trade support institutions to be able to deliver information about the Canadian market, to be able to train the companies in their own countries about what is in the Canadian market, what the Canadian market can offer them, how can they enter to the Canadian market.
TFO es un tremendo apoyo para toda organización campesina de Chile y de todos los otros países que hoy he tenido la oportunidad de ver, que con mucho esfuerzo y con mucha esperanza están hoy aquí, ofreciendo sus productos, que son hechos con manos campesinas. Para nuestras mujeres y para nuestros hombres campesinos es muy importante verse reflejado en igualdad de condiciones frente a muchos y grandes empresarios.
La empresa de Agroemex es una empresa social, no es particular, ¿verdad? Es social. Está muy interesada en que la comunidad a la cual pertenecen los campesinos también tengan un desarrollo humano, un desarrollo social a largo plazo y sostenido. Nuestra organización lleva más de 20 años trabajando en la región y por lo tanto, aún así, somos pequeños productores porque no nos interesa tanto un crecimiento muy grande y olvidarnos de la gente en el campo.
In the agricultural sector, women often have less access than men to productive resources and opportunities. Throughout this initiative, a special focus was placed on supporting women-owned businesses. Women, throughout the Pacific Alliance, create a strong and resilient network to support one another as well as their children and communities.
Nuestra última certificación es la certificación en equidad de género. Con esta certificación lo que buscamos es dar oportunidad a todas las mujeres socias de la cooperativa Mujeres Indígenas para que éstas puedan también tomar decisiones dentro de la organización. Estamos trabajando bastante en lo que es lo social. Nosotros estamos reforestando múltiples áreas de alta erosión a nivel regional para que los productores tengan sostenibilidad en el tiempo sus fincas.
Y beneficiar una cantidad de personas que estaban sufriendo un tema que pasa mucho en nuestro país, es que los campesinos y los indígenas siembran y no tienen quien les compre sus productos. Nosotros quisimos convertirnos en una alternativa para ellos. Nosotros actualmente compramos la cosecha de quinoa de más o menos unas 350 familias ubicadas en el macizo colombiano.
All these companies, as I mentioned earlier, they work with rural communities, so we're creating a social and economic development within these communities. We're contributing towards the peace process because we're also employing these people that, as I mentioned, used to be part of the armed forces in our country, and they're now seeing the benefits of working with these companies that provide them, better economic opportunities and also help them not go back to these armed groups. So each of these companies has their own story, or different types of employees that one way or another, we're either part of the conflict of the armed groups, or we're either part of the demobilized population that wasn't able to live in their communities. So these communities are now able to go back to their rural areas, to live there, to have an income, to have a stable job. So it's also part of contributing to the social and economic growth of the country. The Canadian market is a very demanding market. We can't generalize and think that it's the same as the United States market. People want healthier products, organic products. They're very much into certifications. So for us, it's also a learning experience for the companies to take back with them. They know they have to adapt to be able to enter the Canadian market. They know they have to reach higher standards. So it was a very interesting experience for us.
The Trade Facilitation Office of Canada has done an absolutely amazing job in training the trade and investment agencies of the Pacific Alliance, in then recruiting companies and training them in turn to export to Canada.